And that is sort of the essence of what it's all about. So, it's the blending of the chairman of a WWE, a publicly traded company, and then the evil Mr. McMahon. It's fascinating to this day. And that, to tell you the truth, you can tell that I get excited. It's the part of our industry that I love. It's like none other. I mean, Undertaker.
What's up, Bengal fans? It's your host, Joey Karni, and I want to thank you for clicking on this video. It was an amazing experience, and I can't wait for you to watch the full episode and enjoy it just as much as I did filming it. Now, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe down below to stay up to date with all the Angles activity right here on YouTube. Now enjoy the show.
You can never break me. I won't stay down, pushing till I'm daisies. I'm on top now, while me kissing babies. Call me out, president, boss stool, hate me. I'ma trust my gut, you don't faze me. I'ma get my blood, don't save me. Damn it, never enough, still chasing every single dream that I've had since I was 18.
As you can see, a very special guest. He's the king of the mountain. He's the greatest lead guitarist in wrestling history. He's the host of the My World podcast. But most importantly, he is WWE Hall of Famer, Double J, Jeff Jarrett. How are you? And welcome to the Angle Podcast.
How we doing, man? I appreciate you having me. A lot of fun spreading the word about my world. It's been a blast, but it's fun to, I guess you could say, get on this side of the fence. I've promoted events for years and years and years, and now I'm a fellow podcaster like yourself. But I appreciate you having me on and ready to chat my world and anything else you want to chat about.
Absolutely. So now you're months into podcasting. How have you been enjoying it? Is it like everything you expected it to be?
That's a I don't call it a trick question. It's a loaded question. It is open doors that I didn't, and I said this earlier today on an interview, it's open doors that I didn't even think there were places, there were doors on certain relationships and opportunities. And, again, I've been in this industry quite a few years and I've promoted, I've obviously been an in-ring performer, all aspects of it, but, diving into the world we both know as podcasting, it's as Conrad says, infotainment, lots of information, sometimes entertaining. But it's been really a cool journey. Again, I've always promoted events that are coming up. I've really never looked in the rearview mirror. So to get the opportunity to do that and, just the whole ad-free team with Conrad and diving into it and making it episode and event by event, it's been a lot of fun, Joey.
Awesome. And awesome. It's awesome to hear. There's so many things that I would love to talk to you. I can sit here for hours and ask you, but let me start, I guess, towards the beginning, little after your time with WWE, your time with TNA, when you first founded TNA, now known as Impact. What was your initial vision for what you created? And did you ever think, did you ever see it going where it is today?
Can you believe next June will be 20 years? That's kind of mesmerizing, 20-year anniversary. But no, from the very beginning, when WCW closed down, and we've gone into it in detail on the My World podcast, I had that summer where I was paid to sit home. Essentially, it was a great summer. We called it the summer of no worries. Even that summer, that it's like, okay, every 2 weeks I go to the mailbox and there's a check. But contractually, I couldn't go wrestle anywhere. And so it gave me a lot of time to reflect and think things through. I was at a stage of my life, mid-30s, that, I knew from the beginning, my grandmother was a mentor. My father obviously was a mentor, knowing that the in-ring career can be cut short at any time. It's not a guarantee. But the promotion side of things, or the marketing, or the production and all that, you can make a career out of that as well. So I sat back and just wanted to really look at the landscape of the industry. Again, it's hard to imagine, but this is before social media. Candidly, it was before the streaming services, obviously, but YouTube wasn't thought of. It was just a whole different world. And I knew that in the promotion game, without a number two, there is no such thing as a number one. There's no relativity. So WWE was just wrestling. Sure, there were independent organizations around the world. And look, the Japan scene was strong. The Mexico scene was strong. And the UK scene was beginning the seeds of that. Nothing like it is today. But I knew from a worldwide organization, there was no number two. So from the beginning, I didn't necessarily want to become number two, but I was number two by default.
Yeah.
But I wanted to be the alternative. I knew from simple marketing, just living through the world, that, without Pepsi, Coke can't be number one. And without, hamburger joints. Now there's 5 guys and 15 others, but McDonald's, Wendy's, Burger King, they all make everything rise because it brings awareness. But at the end of the day, I'm going a long way around to telling you, Joey, is I wanted to be the alternative. And that was the vision. If you look at the very beginning, early marketing materials, WWE has always been basically a single performer, heavyweight minded infrastructure. It was built for the big match, whether it's Hulkamania, whether it's Stone Cold and Rock, or whatever it may be. That's Vince's vision of promoting professional wrestling. From the very beginning, I wanted to have, yes, the heavyweights, but I wanted to have a tag team division. I wanted to have the X division. And early days of TNA, it was heavily focused on the 3 divisions until we added the knockouts. And then it was the 4 distinct divisions. And so that would be a very simple way to say that's the alternative. Later came the 6-sided ring, another alternative move. But that was the early vision. Again, I could talk to you a long time. You said I could go into detail about that as well, because it's so misunderstood on what was the vision. Because candidly, in 2010 and TNA, the vision was it took a hard left from what it was. So there is confusion in the market. Like, what is TNA? Because now here we are, 2021. People that weren't fans back there or didn't watch, they have no idea. They just hear a lot of stuff that, there's a lot of confusion there. What is this? Conrad likes to say, TNA, LOL. And he's accurate in some things, but it wasn't always LOL. And so I think that's a cool component of my world that we can dive into, like me and you are right now, and discussing what was the original vision of TNA.
Yeah, and we've seen iconic superstars being signed to help build companies. Like we see Jericho being signed to AEW to help build the promotion. And you signed the likes of Sting, Christian Cage, AJ Styles, Kurt Angle. Who do you think was the most significant signing that really changed the perception of when you're with TNA?
To me, it's a very simple discussion that the early days, even to get Sting for 1 or 2 shows, was really big for us. Then when we signed him, 05-ish, 06-ish was really big. So getting Sting as a part of the product in the early days, but when we signed Kurt Angle, who was a megastar in the early 2000s for the WWF or WWE, Sting and Kurt by far. And look, the Team 3D, Christian Cage, there's a lot of names. I mean, Kevin Nash contributed as much behind the scenes as on camera. There's a lot of guys that I could go down. Scott Steiner, Booker T. I mean, we could go through the list of guys that built their name elsewhere and came to us. But Kurt and Sting are the top 2.
Of course. And kind of jumping around here, just trying to get as many as we can.
I hear you.
So we all know your relationship with Owen Hart, and your episode on him was honestly one of the most touching and beautiful tributes that we've seen for him. What was your initial thought to hearing that AEW would be creating a tournament in his name, alongside with merchandise and video game involvement, things like that? What did you think about his name being brought back in 2021?
Elated. I mean, it's the most. I've been asked this several times. The fact that I knew Owen personally, but also knew him professionally. Obviously, Martha, and Oj and Athena, knew him as husband and father, and knew him professionally, but more personally, obviously. And then, the wrestling world obviously knew Owen Hart, the performer. But championships and trials and tribulations and ups and downs and stories, that all comes and goes, but a legacy lives forever. Yeah. And when I heard the news, it made me, I was so happy. In a lot of ways, I guess you could say super happy and super joyful for the spirit of Owen, because now a whole new generation is going to be impacted. Look, Owen impacted, and it's legendary stories. I'm not talking about just the prankster stories, but how Owen impacted human beings, whether it's a stranger on the street or someone that he worked with day in, day out. Owen impacted lives. But when he passed, that impact essentially went away because he was no longer around. But the foundation, from the beginning has continued to grow and grow and grow. But now in the wrestling world, Owen Hart's legacy is going to impact lives in a very, very positive manner. And I think that's at the very top of it, is that Owen's foundation, the spirit of Owen Hart, the legacy of Owen Hart, is going to continue to impact lives in a positive manner. And that is very, very, I can't put that in words, how inspiring that is to me.
I'm honestly excited to see what they do with that when they start doing it. But when you came back to WWE to work in creative, did you have anything specific in mind that you wanted to implement?
I came back in, and that's, I've never really gone into this because really I came back to join the team. And in my time there, it was creative, it was live events, it was international, a little bit of production here and there. I worked with multiple departments. No, at the end of the day, this is definitely no secret. One person writes for the show. It's one person's visions, and everything around it is support. And candidly, he's built $1 billion empire that way. And so through the years, whether it was, Pat Patterson and Sandy Scott or George Scott, or through the years, or Bruce Pritchard and Vince Russo, and then, Ed Koski and all the writers, Brian Gerwitz and all that, all in a support role. At the end of the day, it's Vince's vision, and Vince's vision, candidly, has created $1 billion industry, which is, coming from my roots and my background, third generation promoter. It's amazing to see the moves that WWE continues to make.
Yeah, and I think right now there's some sort of disconnect with a lot of the fans and the WWE product, and they kind of look at Vince as like he's this evil monster. You know him on a personal level. What can you tell the fans to kind of change that perception that he really is not this evil genius, but he's trying to just build his business?
And look, there's nothing I or anyone else can say, because look, I've got 5 kids. And so look, as I'm in tune as my 24, 25 or 21-year-old. No, but we live in a completely different reality. The Instagram models, and I don't want to dive into, we could really get off the rails here, but it's a completely different world in that, the wrestling fan is more educated today than they've ever been, less transparency. But on the other hand, unless you have literally been in the seat, look, we like I just used the football analogy the other day, unless you are actually on the team and the coach and know all the different situations, the moves and the play calling of this, you're really guessing at the end of the day. And wrestling fans, in a lot of ways, it's what they read, what they see. I think there's a lot of misinformation and mistruths about the early years of TNA that we slightly touched on. So there's nothing I can say to maybe change that. I always go back to this. At the end of the day, business is business. And I know that sounds simple, but we are in the wrestling industry. We're in the wrestling business. And so there's only 2 colors of ink, red and black. And Vince has been in the black, obviously, a long time. So his decisions collectively are very successful. Nobody bats 1,000. There's so much that goes into timing, whether it's Hulkamania, whether it's the Attitude Era, whether it's the Peacock or the Fox deal. There's so many different things that go into business. But at the end of the day, it's the collective decision making. And I think Vince's track record is point taken. And also, here's sort of the magic of our industry, is that everybody knows, whether it's Steve Jobs or Tim Cook or Warren Buffett or Bill Gates or all these dynamic, Jeff Bezos, all these dynamic CEOs of the world, they don't ever come out on their own product and play this heel role like the evil Vince McMahon, the chairman, did. You don't see Bezos on camera or Steve Jobs or Tim Cook, but Vince played a character that was opposite of Stone Cold Steve Austin that resonates. And to this day, I've said it on my world multiple times, I believe it's one of the greatest heel personas ever in our entire industry. And that's how good of performer Vince is. His track record speaks for itself. He always gets ratings. He always gets buy rates. His character, but it's so real. And that is sort of the essence of what it's all about. So, it's the blending of the chairman of a WWE, a publicly traded company, and then the evil Mr. McMahon. It's fascinating to this day. And that, to tell you the truth, you can tell that I get excited. It's the part of our industry that I love. It's like none other. I mean, Undertaker appeared on the sideline of the Dallas Cowboy games, and he said it multiple times. I'm retired. I'm doing this. Everybody wants to know, oh, wait, is he coming back? It's the fun part of our industry. It really is.
And I like to end my interviews on a positive note. And that is, when you fully step away from professional wrestling with the podcast and everything, how do you want to be remembered?
Well, first off, I have a firm belief that fully step away is very relative. It's in my blood.
No, I agree.
I'm from Nashville, and so there's a lot of folks in the music industry. Look, you have your, number one records and number one hits, or you're the number one producer or the number one concert promoter. You always have your ups and downs and rides and all that, but somehow, some way, they're always still a part of this business. I love this business. It's my work, my life's passion. But how do I want to be remembered? Man, that is a good question. At the end of the day, this business has given me a lot. I want to give back to it quite a bit, but also think that at the very core, I'm a promoter, I'm a producer, executive producer, a promoter, an in-ring talent. But first and foremost, that's been through all that, I'm a wrestling fan. I am a wrestling fan. And so as a wrestling fan, I always would sit up in my chair and say, oh, that's new. I want to, that's new. That's different. And so that's what I like to try to bring to the industry is innovations and try something new. You're not going to bat 1,000, but look, you're never going to know. There's a fine line between genius and insanity. And so I think sometimes I've played more insanity than genius, but no, I love innovating. So that's what I try to continue to do this day. And I've got a lot of things coming up in 2022 that hopefully will come to light. They're going to be innovative as well. So good question, though.
I'm excited for it. And there's that infamous video of you getting choked up talking about Vince and the Hall of Fame. And you said at the end of the day, he didn't have to do this. And to respond to that, it was incredibly necessary to put you into the Hall of Fame, because without Jeff Jarrett, we wouldn't have wrestling as we know it today. We wouldn't have the options like Impact and AEW. We wouldn't even have the countless memories that you've given us. And for that, I want to thank you for everything you've done in wrestling. And it's been an honor and a privilege to sit here and chat with you.
Man, I appreciate you saying that, Joey. You're going to get me emotional, but no, dude, I appreciate it. At the end of the day, opportunity is one of the greatest. It's one of my most favorite words. It's opportunity. And the only way you seize an opportunity is take action. So, hey man, I will not be a stranger. I'd love to come back. I appreciate your patience on getting this scheduled. But yeah, you took the opportunity and you got old Double J from My World on, and let's do it again sometime.
Thank you. Absolutely. And where can all the fans listening and watching go find you and find My World?
Real simple. The new episodes drop every Tuesday at 6 a.m. But I make it simple. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, it's at Real Jeff Jarrett. It's real simple. My website is realjeffjarrett.com. And then all my social media handles for the pod are at My World Pod, at My World Pod. So I appreciate you letting me do a little Mick Foley cheap plug, but that's the world we live in, right?
Right. Thank you for coming on. And I would love to do this sometime in the future, and we'll go deep dive into some other things wrestling. I appreciate your time.
Have a great day.
Thanks. You too. And before you go, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe down below to stay up to date with the next big interview right here on the Angle Podcast.